I mean, it's Aquaman. It is what you expect it to be.
The wanderer with no home. But now, I'm a husband and a father. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Back again with another movie review. My name is Josh. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you click the thumbnail, you're here to talk about Aquaman 2 or Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. If you're unfamiliar, this is the sequel to the original Aquaman movie, which I believe, I'm not 100% sure if it's still accurate, but I know it was its first billion-dollar movie, maybe its only billion-dollar movie for the DCEU. So it was a very successful first movie, and if you've seen the first movie, you know that it's just a rip-roaring, globe-trotting action movie nonetheless, and it's got cool visuals. The action's really cool. You have director James Wan, taking some of his horror sensibilities, and if you like the first one, I honestly think you'll like the second one. I know there's a lot of kind of negativity surrounding this movie, and, rightfully so, as DC has not really been that good when it comes to movies, especially as of late. But I mean, there's been a lot of crappy movies coming out from all different studios. So this one I had very low expectations coming in just because it also got moved back a year. I think it was supposed to come out like last Christmas, and then they moved it back. And honestly, this may be a little more recency bias, as I've just seen a couple movies that I really did not enjoy. Rebel Moon. This one was actually fairly enjoyable. I mean, it was a fun movie to watch. Is it kind of stupid? Yeah, but so was the first one. I mean, the dialogue is very interesting to slightly cringy at certain points. I mean, some of the villain's dialogue is a little out there, so to speak. And not even the villain himself, like some of the henchmen, stuff like that. But it's very similar in the fact that you have a very distinct kind of visual style from James Wan, which I think carried over very well from the first one. I mean, you have a lot of the same things. There's a lot more of that globe-trotting, so you're all over the place. There's a lot more kind of villains that are introduced that are pretty cool looking. And the story itself, I mean, this is just kind of a throwback to like a 90s or early 2000s action-adventure movie, and have an odd couple thrown in there too with Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson, which absolutely worked for me. I'm not even going to lie. I mean, if you've seen the trailers at all, there's no spoilers here. They do partner up to take down a greater evil.
Ooh, you look rough.
Good job, little brother. High five.
Do not call me brother.
And I thoroughly enjoyed those two playing off each other. I would say this is really a good one to take kids to. I mean, it's not going to be super, super violent. There's not a lot of blood and guts or anything like that. It's definitely very, I think, family friendly. And the visuals and the fight scenes, again, I've seen a lot of fighting recently that is just very underwhelming. In this one, it looked really cool. I was able to tell what was going on. You had some cool special effects. I mean, it was probably a very expensive movie to make. I don't know that's going to make all that money back, but I thought it was very enjoyable. It's definitely not a perfect movie by any means. I mean, the hard part about this one going into it is knowing that this is the last of the current DC movies that will be coming out, so there's not a lot of stakes necessarily riding on it moving forward. And if you just kind of take that and put it aside and just sit down and enjoy what's going on in front of you, it is pretty enjoyable. I'd probably actually watch it again. Is it a great movie? Absolutely not. But there are some very funny scenes. There's some cool action. Sometimes the comedy goes a little too much, as it's a little too jokey kind of all the time, but at the same time, I mean, it's trying to be fun, it's trying to be action, so take it for what it is. A couple of the things that were kind of surprising to me were I was really curious as to how they were going to use Amber Heard after everything that's happened with her and Johnny Depp. And honestly, that's a bit odd in this one. So not to spoil anything, but not to go into too much depth, she's definitely still in the movie, and I think she has a bigger part than I actually thought she would. I thought they would do one of a couple routes to kind of get her out of the picture early on just to stay away from it altogether, but she turned out to be fairly important to the actual movie in certain parts, which I'm kind of torn on, honestly, because realistically, when she walked on screen a couple of times, or when she showed up, I was like, I just see Amber Heard from all the trial stuff and the memes and everything like that, and it was hard to really just associate her as Mira, and that's just what popped into my head. So it was kind of hard in that manner, but it was also kind of interesting because it seems like they definitely edited her out of certain things, or would like zoom in a little more to have her less in certain scenes. So I mean, that was a little wonky at times, but I also kind of dug the soundtrack. They had a little more synth kind of soundtrack in there, which I really kind of dug, and you could definitely tell it was James Wan, because there were some definite horror elements in this one. But I think if you think about like fantasy adventures, that a lot of the ones that I grew up with, whether they be like Krull or Conan or like all those types of things, this was very similar, but probably a little more family friendly than those were, because I went back and watched some of those recently, and they're pretty horrible and harsh in all reality. So this is a perfect movie? Absolutely not. Is it a fairly entertaining one to go watch, especially if you enjoyed the first one? I would say yeah. I mean, I'm going to give this one, I would say probably 5.5, maybe 6 out of 10. Okay, I mean, again, not horrible. I'm not angry that I went to see it. I got some enjoyment out of it, and I might even actually watch it again at some point. Maybe a 1-2 double feature. But overall, I think it was actually much better than I anticipated, because I really anticipated a dumpster fire. And I'm sure if people come out and they say that this is a dumpster fire, there's a lot of logic gaps and stuff like that. But it's also Aquaman. So if you're looking for extreme and utter realism, maybe go check out a different one. I don't know. Let me know if you guys have seen it, what you thought about it. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Go hit that subscribe button if you would. That'd be fantastic. And as always, you're awesome. Have a Merry Christmas. Peace out.